Hello again and welcome back to our course on Photoshop Elements 15. In this section I'd like to take a look at what's new in Photoshop Elements 15. For those of you who've used Photoshop Elements before, then of course what's new is pretty important, particularly if you've been using PSE 14. If you've been using a much older version, say PSE 8, then you've got quite a few what's news to catch up on in order to get up to date. I will be covering most of the features that are new in PSE 15 during the course. Some of them are quite significant and some of them are relatively minor modifications to existing features. If you haven't used PSE before, then what's new may not really mean much to you, because quite a bit of it is based on existing features that you're probably completely unaware of at the moment, but which I can assure you you'll be very aware of by the time you get to the end of the course. Now, another important point to make here is that a lot of the information about Photoshop Elements, particularly the information on the Adobe website itself, treats the two constituent parts of Photoshop Elements almost as two products. So this is what's new in Photoshop Elements, and there is another what's new for what's new in Elements Organizer, and I'll take a look at that in just a moment. But if we start with the PSE 15 what's new, let me just point out one or two real highlights here. The first highlight is touch-based editing. To some extent you have been able to use touch with PSE in the past, but in a very restricted way. With PSE 15 the touch facilities have been considerably extended and enhanced. And I am recording this course on a touch device, and I will be demonstrating touch use of PSE during the course. Having said that, it will be an extremely long and tedious job to do everything twice. So generally speaking, I will be doing everything using mouse and keyboard, and I will just by exception demonstrate things using touch. From my own personal experience of using PSE with touch, some things are fine, other things where you need perhaps quite a high level of accuracy, I still find that using a mouse gives me more accurate results. But this is very much a matter of personal preference. And of course, if you're using a touch device, you may not have the option of using mouse and keyboard. Some of the other new features in Photoshop Elements 15 include some new guided edits. If you don't know what a guided edit is, you will fairly soon. And then you also have some new or enhanced features in things like using layers, retouching photos and cropping. Let's look briefly at the Organizer Elements 15 what's new. Once again, if you haven't used PSE before, some of the terminology here may not mean much to you. But amongst the what's new items in Elements Organizer 15, we have enhancements to search facilities, to instant fixes, and we have support for touch as well, as I mentioned just now. Now, apart from the what's new, a very significant thing that has changed in PSE 15 is its support for 64-bit systems. And as part of this, some features of PSE have actually been removed in PSE 15. Let's take a look at those. So one good place to get a list of the items that have been removed is this FAQs page, product information. And apart from some useful information there about the differences between Photoshop Elements and Premiere Elements, for example, right near the bottom there's a section, what features from previous versions are not available in Photoshop Elements 15, and there they are: Photo Mail, Photo Merge, Style Match, Magic Extractor Tool, Texture Fill, Frame from Video, Interactive Layout Mode in Photo Merge Panorama, and Photoshop Showcase. There's just one more thing I need to tell you about before we start using Photoshop Elements, and that is the structure of the course. I'm going to cover that in the next section, so please join me for that.